This week, Kieran joins us to talk about special projects, including bypassing EDR, creating your own ransomware, data exfiltration techniques, and living off the land and using LLMs for evil. In the security news, we're hacking TVs. Flushable wipes are not the only problem. People just want to spy on their pets, except the devices can be hacked. Linux EDR is for the birds. What my hat says. We love exploits and hashes, ESP32s in your router, RF signal generator on a Pi Zero, Mikey Mouse, and other things that will probably never happen until they do. Hacking with money, uninitialized variables, and other things the compiler should catch if you pay attention. Breaking out of the shell, hacking with sound for real, not just another side channel attack. Bringing back 2G when the game engine gets hacked in Oracle 0 days. All that and more on this episode of Paul's Security Weekly.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where exploits run wild, packets aren't the only things getting sniffed, and the cocktails flow steady. It's Paul's Security Weekly. Ransomware, supply chain attacks, 0 days. Cyber threats don't wait, and neither should your defenses. With ThreatLocker, you're not just reacting to threats, you're stopping them before they start. ThreatLocker's zero trust endpoint protection locks down your environment with pinpoint control over what's allowed to run and what's not. No guesswork, no blind spots, just proactive, built-for-now security that keeps your business moving. Want to see how a true default deny strategy works? Head over to securityweekly.com/ThreatLocker and take the first step towards shutting the door on threats before they even knock. Today, we'd like to welcome Kieran Human, a special project engineer at ThreatLocker. Rob Allen was describing this team at ThreatLocker that did special projects. And I was like, well, what kind of special projects? He's like, I don't know. We asked them to hack like random things and do cool hacks, and they come back and they do it. I'm like, can we talk to some of those folks? Because that sounds awesome. And Kieran agreed. Kieran, welcome to Paul's Security Weekly.
Thank you for having me.
With me, joining me, our illustrious co-host, Miss Mandy Logan, is here with us.
Why, thank you. And yes, I got to talk to the special projects team at Zero Trust World back in February. Oh my gosh, it was great.
Awesome. Mr. Lee Neely is here with us. Lee, welcome.
Hey, it's great to be here on this bright and early Wednesday morning. And yeah, that was great to talk to you guys at Zero Trust World. That was an awesome set of time we had with you. Really appreciate it.
Kieran, how'd you get your start in information security?
Yeah, so I always knew that I wanted to work with computers. I liked computers from a young age. My older brothers did as well. So I went to UCF, the University of Central Florida. I really wanted to get a bachelor's in cybersecurity, but that wasn't an option. So I got a bachelor's in information technology and then a minor in secure computing and networks. And then I believe it was the year before I graduated, my university made a master's program for cybersecurity. So after graduating, I started that. I graduated early, and then I also wrote a thesis, and that was on cryptocurrency and cybercrime. And then now I'm working at ThreatLocker, the zero trust protection. Loving it here, and it's going great, especially working, like you're saying, with Rob. I get tons of cool projects all the time.
Yeah, it sounds like an amazing organizational structure, an amazing team, and you guys get to do like really cool things. Like I think that's awesome. One of the things that I think you guys are often tasked with is to create malware and other software, if you will, that bypasses EDR. And I probably see, Kieran, a new EDR bypass almost every week. There's some kind of new technique. If it's not bypassing EDR, it's bypassing some other kind of Microsoft Windows security control. Can you kind of break down? I know you had some tips that you were preparing. Like, break down what are some of the basics of bypassing EDR today on modern Windows systems using modern EDR.
Yeah, so with EDR, a lot of people think that it's good and it will find everything. The problem with it is it goes by detecting what's known bad. So the original ask way back being a couple months ago, Danny, our CEO, came to me and he basically told us that, hey, we have a data exfiltration ducky script that you plug in the USB and it steals their documents folder. For years, this wasn't detected by EDRs because we had made it. But then over the past few years, it was starting to get caught because they had detected that as bad. So what he needed was something new, something that would do the same task, but would not get picked up by EDR. And so I got...
Hang on, Kieran. I want to back up there for a moment.
Mhm.
So you got a bad USB device running a ducky script.
Yes.
That process was not detected so far, right? Like ducky script is running, USB was connected. That's not detected.
Yeah.
But
So
go ahead.
Yeah, originally, for years it wasn't detected at all, the original exfiltration script, because all we did was just go through your entire documents folder and upload every single file.
Yep.
But then it was about last year, some EDRs started to pick it up. Not all of them, but there were a couple that did.
That's
So-
interesting because they are keying in on the behavior. It is potentially known bad behavior, although, taking your documents and uploading them somewhere isn't necessarily evil.
Yeah.
But I guess the act of all your documents going somewhere, you think that's what was triggering it?
Yeah, and that was kind of my line of thinking. And so what I initially tested was, what if I don't upload all of the documents one at a time, and all I do is I copy those documents into a zipped folder, copy it into a folder, zip it, and then upload that folder. Well, I tested that, and it completely bypassed all the
Right,
EDRs I tested.
Because one
Boom.
file isn't suspicious, but multiple files, and that was kind of what you're keying on.
Yeah,
You know what's interesting, Kieran? I did find there is anti-malware, I'll call it, vendor that detects the bad USB. So kind of back up in the attack chain a little bit. And I believe the way that it does that is your first hid device you can plug in, no problem, because typically that's the user's keyboard. The second hid device or any subsequent hid devices that are connected to the system, the anti-malware software detects that and asks you, it's like, hey, you need to it puts a PIN code on the screen and it says, hey, on your keyboard, you need to enter that PIN code before I allow this hid device to connect. I thought that was actually pretty good in defending against bad USB attacks.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one in particular. I do wonder if cloning basically making it look like it's the original, if it would detect that. There might be some ways around that. But in my
our brains
testing,
start going towards, wait, how do I get around that?
Yeah.
That's a good one, cloning the keyboard. I was also like, can I scrape the keyboard, or is it blocking me from access before I would be able to put any software that might be able to read what's on the screen so I can just play that back to the system? So,
and that's what a lot of my job is trying to research and think of ways to, you think like a hacker so that we can then stop that. Because with ThreatLocker, we don't stop the rubber ducky from typing, but what we can do is stop the damage that rubber ducky can do.
Right.
Another thing that I found useful was using tools on the machine already. So whether that is 7-zip for encrypting files, I made ransomware where it will find 7-zip on your computer if it has it, and then encrypt the files and then delete the unencrypted files. So that was another way where if 7-zip's on your computer and you give it access to everything, EDR is not really going to pick it up as malicious if 7-zip's being used.
Right.
Did you check for
go
other
ahead,
things besides 7-zip? I mean, like WinZip will do encryption too.
Yeah. Basically, it's whatever. I had to search for a couple different zipping programs, and basically whichever one it found, use that.
Boom. Game over, man.
So essentially we're living off the land.
Yeah.
For the most part. But when you're executing scripts from duckies, that's PowerShell?
Usually through PowerShell. You can do it to have other things like at Zero Trust World last year, we had, I did a lab where it would disable Windows Defender. So it would go through the prompts, disable it, disable UAC so that you don't have to get any further prompts, and then it can run whatever it wants because Windows Defender is disabled.
Right. Did you need to be administrator to do that on a Windows system?
I believe yes.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are Windows admins on their own systems, so
Which they
So-
shouldn't, but unfortunately
Right.
it is quite common.
yeah.
So remember back in the day, we used to like tell people run a couple of different AVs just because of the matrix of what they miss gets smaller. But people only run one EDR, right? You don't have to worry about Defender and something else behind it. You also have to look for.
Yeah, usually it's one EDR.
Yeah. By the way, there were consequences with running multiple AVs. I remember that.
Absolutely. I
I'm
remember
just
that
thinking
too.
back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, well, easier for you to try and create an exploit, though.
Yeah. The another one that we found that was that I like for the bypassing EDR is our good friend ChatGPT or any other LLM of choice. For a reverse shell, sometimes it'll give you pushback saying, "Oh, I can't do that." But you say please, and then with a bit of some prompt engineering, you can usually get it to give you a reverse shell. And first couple times it got picked up, but then I say no, obfuscate it more, obfuscate it less, and eventually gave me a reverse shell that still has not been picked up by any EDR that we've tested it on.
So now,
Oh, go ahead, Lee. I have another
so
question.
what I was thinking is you've done all this research, and as I remember somewhere in your LinkedIn, it said you were a teaching assistant. Does that skill come back to help you teach others about what it is the heck you're finding out and why it matters? Because I'm
Yeah, I
thinking
think-
you're really good at telling us about this stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, I've always liked teaching. It's been really fun. At university, I was a teaching assistant. Eventually, I was then a graduate research assistant after that. But I always found it helpful, even in classes that I was doing well in. I would teach people in my class because I would reinforce my learning if I could teach someone else. Like if I'm able to teach you the subject, that means I understand it better. And then I can kind of get different perspectives on the subject.
Damn straight. Well played.
Man, did you have a question?
Mandy? Yeah.
Yes, I did because okay, first I have a statement. How extensively is WinRAR still used? I don't know why I have the idea that it's not as extensively
That's
used as it
actually
used
that's
to.
actually a question, not a statement.
I know, but I'm like, I guess it's like either way, I have input on this. And I guess it's a query because I don't know. I don't know why I had in mind that WinRAR was not used as much now.
Yeah, as far as I know, it is not as well used as other ones like 7-zip.
Okay.
My knowledge is 7-zip is probably the most popular Windows-based secondary zipping file system. But I don't have the
No, it's
statistics to
fair.
back that up.
That's fine.
It's interesting though. Does the built-in zip or archiver in Windows does that support encryption or just zipping? Just compression?
As far as I remember, it did not. At least not
Okay.
from the command line when I was doing my testing.
Yeah. I remember we went down this rabbit hole once on the show about the different compression algorithms that are used by WinRAR, 7-zip, the built-in Windows tools, and then some of the Linux utilities, like all of them conceivably use like different compression algorithms. It was like a fascinating computer science nerdy kind of research thing that I was doing. I was like, oh, well, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But the encryption functionality is certainly interesting from an attacker perspective, right? Of what supports it and what doesn't.
Yeah, especially because it's essentially ransomware. I mean, I take your copy of your files, I encrypt it, I upload that to myself, and then I delete it from your machine. That's
right.
That is ransomware. And I was quite surprised, even though I was the one making it, I was quite surprised that nothing was really picking it up.
Yeah, and so we've talked about two techniques that are reliable for bypassing EDR. One is for data exfiltration. One is more specific to ransomware activities. Do you think the EDRs are going to catch up to that, or because I know there's folks like you and others that have this tradecraft that they don't upload to VirusTotal. They try and keep it so they can be effective on penetration tests, But on the flip side of that, like, why haven't EDR vendors reacted to this
Yeah,
and put in detections and prevention?
I think it just comes down to it's inherent to EDRs, being that detection and response. It
Mm-hmm.
needs to know what's bad. We at ThreatLocker go by the zero trust, where it's only allow what's needed, block everything
Mm-hmm.
else, and that is kind of the better way to do it. Because how do you know the difference between uploading your documents to your backup Google bucket or me uploading your documents to my bad, malicious Google bucket? There
Right.
isn't really an easy way to know the reason behind it, the behavior. It's the EDR just has to kind of go by what it thinks kind of looks bad or what is known bad. Uh, and I just think it's inherent to EDRs. I'm sure over time they will improve in some ways. Like I said, they did eventually start catching our initial script, but then you make a small tweak. Instead of uploading each file, you upload a zip. In a couple years, I'm sure that zip's going to get caught, and then I'm going to do something else, and then
Right.
it'll go through. Maybe it'll catch .zip, and then I'll just change it to .0, and then it won't catch that.
Yeah,
So
I would think though that the multiple indicators of behavior could be correlated together, so that a new HID device by itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. But if the new HID device, then you see PowerShell running, and then after that there's some kind of zip utility, I would think
yeah,
you could look at all three of those behaviors together and go, "Uh-oh, that workstation is being compromised."
yeah, you definitely could have that. But one of my other scripts that I have is it's a persistent screenshotting thing where
Mm-hmm.
it will
Yeah.
basically you plug it into your computer. It will run the script after on PowerShell, but then it will put a script into your startup folder. And then that startup folder will then call a script that's on, I put it in the desktop, you can put it anywhere. But that will then start taking screenshots of your computer and uploading it to us every 10 seconds.
And
Again,
EDR
hasn't been
EDR
caught,
doesn't
has,
catch that behavior.
does not get caught. But I have it start immediately. What I could have it is just not start immediately. So then that script's not running. And then
Mm,
it's persistent because every time you restart your computer, it's in that startup folder. So it runs that script.
right.
Okay, so quick question, going back to my other list. With ring fencing and being able to separate out for 7-zip or WinRAR not having access to sensitive directories, I'm curious, like, how has that, what have you seen with ring fencing when it's applying to like commercially available agents, like whether it's LLMs or your specific agents? Like, is there any crossover that you're seeing as more and more you're getting more data from companies and employees using a wide variety of generative AI?
Um, with ring fencing, it's meant to be just that they only get access to what they need. So it's like with PowerShell. A lot of what I do would get blocked with ring fencing because it is blocking that sensitive folders. But the other really, really, really big thing with it is blocking that outbound connection.
Mm,
So even if, and now obviously that won't resolve everything, but there would be no data exfil if PowerShell can't reach out to the internet. Um, PowerShell would
mhm.
not be able to encrypt all my sensitive files if it doesn't have access to them. But on the other hand, it is with zero trust, you should be giving access to what's needed. So if they do have an LLM that needs access to their sensitive files, it would just need access to them. But then we would then just try and restrict as much as possible anything accessing that LLM that doesn't need access. Does that answer your question a little?
Oh yeah,
If
it
not,
does. I think I'm I'm trying to create a mental map of what your EDR solutions are seeing with the influx of um, people just using so many different large language models and generative AI agents that are available, or if they are making their own proprietary. Like if you have your own that you're running in a, in a dedicated environment,
Mhm.
then I think it'd be much easier with integrating through endpoint detection being more useful. And honestly, like, yes, you answered the question, you provided good intel. I'm still just mentally figuring out, like, oh, what are the trigger points here?
Yeah, so it's using the LLM to do what exactly?
Anything. I mean, I'm just saying, like, literally, I'm doing like very baseline of what you're seeing with general employees and endpoint users that are not tech, that are not security
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah. I mean, they really should, for the most part, generative AI should not be anywhere near your sensitive documents. At least, especially if it's not on-prem, you're not doing it, hosting it yourself. When you're hosting it yourself, it is a lot different where you have a lot more control over it. But if you are having it on the web, with ThreatLocker, we have something called web control, where one of the categories is that AI, LLM, generative field, where you can block those. And then if you do have one that you want to allow, you put that allow above so that you can say, hey, as a company, we have approved company ABC AI, but then all the other AIs get blocked.
Yeah, it gets harder with Claude Code though. I do recommend people run that in a VM because it will gain access to your files. However, if we go back to you want to do some what the AIs consider evil stuff that we consider our jobs, right? I don't know. We need to like convince AI. I mean, you could train your own model, but I've had success. So if I were to like not train my own model or have an AI Gen AI that was purposely didn't have the guardrails on it, right? I know you guys have experimented with some of those as well. What my strategy is, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, Kieran, is I use Claude Code locally. And if I wanted to generate data exfil script or reverse shells, right, I'd go find a Git repository that had some reverse shells in it. It had some pretty good ones in it, right? And then I would clone that locally. I would run Claude in that directory, and it would automatically, like slash init and Claude Code would go read all the files in the directory and come back and give me a report and go, oh, these are like reverse shells. I'm like, cool. Okay, now change one of those so that it can do this. And it seems like the guardrails, it kind of lowers its guard, right? When you do that. I've had to analyze malware for me. And it seems a little like lax on the guardrails when it's locally on my system. I don't know if you've experienced that too, Kieran.
Yeah, for me, I've what I usually do is I will just give it something innocuous. So I will say, instead of give me a data exfil script, I will say give me a secure backup system. For my, I made one where it would detect if your clipboard had a cryptocurrency address on it.
Yep.
And then it would replace it. I said, have it replace me with, quote, random string here, end quote. And then it was like, sure, here you go. But if I wanted it to replace it with my Bitcoin address, it said no. Yep. So all I had to do was insert Bitcoin address here, and then I just insert my own Bitcoin address there.
Yeah.
So that's how
I've done that too. Yeah.
I'll normally get around it.
Can you crawl this website? It contains like all these Windows drivers that are questionable. I think VX Underground published that. And it was like, no, Dave, I can't do that. I'm like, all right, just give me a Python script that can crawl a website and download files of this type. And it's like, oh, yeah, I can do that. Yeah. And then I just go in and replace the URL with the one that contains that questionable content that it was complaining about. And it was like, oh, yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah, but for me,
go ahead.
I was saying with me, I do the same with you, where if I have any code that I do anything AI related on, that is on a separate VM that has no access to any of my documents, nothing. If I do any coding with the company, that is on a completely different machine. I do not trust it's just, it's much easier to have it separate. The AIs like to go get a bit more information than they need.
Yeah, and there could be stuff where someone has like poisoned the water hole, right? It could be something that executes a command on my system or installs software from places I don't approve of. So doing it in a VM is definitely recommended.
So the thing I was going to say, actually, I had a couple of things. I've been chewing on one for a bit because I've been trying to figure out how to say it. But the just for the last bit we've been talking about, there's I remember this thing where we're doing prompt hacking. Reminds me of times back when a user would say, "Your security is broken on your systems because of some deliberate setting we made because of users wanted it," but they wouldn't tell us what was broken. And I'm feeling like we're going down that path again, except we have people telling people what's broken and how to prevent it with the prompt hacking. I'm just hoping people will listen, which leads me to my harder question is we talked about, bad USB. We've talked about hacking LLM, and more. And I'm thinking, it used to be there were some fairly fundamental things you could do to, I don't want to, well, let's say it, defense in depth, right? You can't rely only on your EDR. But I'm thinking that the level of complexity feels like it's growing and not at a smooth rate. Is average human able to keep, or let alone average security person keeping up? Or is that where you come in?
Yeah, that really is where we come in, is EDR and all this detection. It's just it wasn't keeping up before AI. But with AI, you can create novel malware that has never been seen before in minutes. As someone that you used to have to really, study for years, have experience, really understand how computers work in order to make malware. Now you give someone that, like we were saying, can kind of prompt engineer that AI, do a bit of troubleshooting, and you can make malware. So that really is where that zero trust comes in, because you just can't keep track of everything that's bad and new. So instead, just keep track of what you need and then block everything else by default. You don't have to go find, hey, is this new thing good, bad? What is it? Who made it? Is it going to suddenly steal all my data? Just, it's blocked by default.
Yeah, I like the generic detections. That's kind of what I work on in my day job too, Kieran, is, we see malware that does very specific things. I'm like, wait, how can we have a generic test for this condition that happens? Like, great, we can have a specific thing that looks for a hash or whatever. That's important. But speaking to kind of defense in depth, I also want to try and detect the technique, right? Because largely everyone has access to an LLM now. So all I have to do is have the LLM come up with some different iterations. Now I can bypass all the things, except that technique never really truly changes, right? And so if I can detect that technique or put some kind of barrier, like from ThreatLocker, around that technique, that's that. Now you don't have to detect every single individual thing. You can detect the generic behavior or put guardrails around it, and you're protecting against all the variants, of that particular threat.
Yeah.
I've got a dumb question. We've talked about, don't let your LLM access this, that, and the other thing. Can we detect when I set that wrong? Stupid user trick. I mean, those are really hard. I know that, and I feel like it's a dumb question, but I think you know where I'm going. Is there anything we can do to help the stupid user? Pardon the cliche.
Yeah. So with ThreatLocker, we have DAC. So there's defense against configurations. You'll see there's a lot of misconfigurations that people will do. In everything. So with DAC, it just kind of gives you like, hey, you have this setting enabled, you have this, you're not protecting it against this, which you really, really should. And that will give you those kind of helpful reminders. Hey, you really, really should be blocking or restricting MISTA, that MSHTA, because most organizations don't need it. And if you do need it, it really doesn't need access to everything.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's all about configuration. Kieran, you folks also teach like a boot camp. Tell us a little bit about the boot camp that you're teaching.
Yeah, so as we were talking about teaching earlier, we just started up a Zero Trust boot camp. We made it free for the participants. It's 6 weeks in person, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. So it is definitely quite intensive. But with that, we're aiming to train people in understanding Zero Trust, how it works, why it works, how to implement it. The first 2 weeks are just general, making sure everyone has the same baseline knowledge, understanding hashing, encryption, IPv4, IPv6, Active Directory, everything, all of that. Then the next 2 weeks, 3 and 4, is red teaming. So we'll be hacking into the computer, making malicious payloads, kind of thinking as the hacker. And then the last 2 weeks is blue teaming. So it's, okay, you understand how these work, why these work, and now let's see how to stop that.
What kind of cool red team techniques are you teaching in that 2-week block?
Yeah, we'll be making ducky scripts. The sticky key exploit always is fun for people. For anyone that doesn't know, essentially you just rename sticky keys, put command prompt as sticky keys when you're in safe mode, and then boot up and press shift 5 times. You now have admin access to the machine.
Right. It pops up a command prompt.
Yep.
On the login screen, right? That's awesome. What's your favorite hardware for running bad USB and ducky scripts?
Yeah, for us, we just use the Hack5 rubber ducky. You can really use there's lots and lots and lots of different.
All right, there's so many options today, right? There's so many. I mean, ESP32s, people are using them all the time for bad USB. I feel like there's nuances in there though, as to what it supports and the capabilities. When you start getting into that different hardware, Hack5 actually has some really great hardware for running that stuff. I don't blame you for using that hardware because it's super, super nice.
Yeah, we use quite a few of their tools. We use their OMG cable sometimes, their Wi-Fi Pineapple. I believe we have the Flipper Zero here and there. So they've got some really powerful tools, but it's not the only ones out there. You can definitely find different ones, different capabilities, cheaper, expensive. There's lots of hardware, software that you can just really mess around with and get some really good experience with.
Yeah, I really want to dig into the code and how it's implemented because there's so many different implementations, and I think most of it's open source. I think all of it's open source for bad USB attacks. It's crazy that that attack came out in 2014 at Black Hat, and it's still in play and works really well today.
Yeah, it's amazing how many at trade shows and events will tell people, hey, plug in this USB. Obviously, after the presentation, they know what it is. And it's like, plug this USB in and see if it protects against your defense, see if your defense is protected against it. And if they do plug it in, which many don't, as you shouldn't, but sometimes people do, and you'd be surprised at how many times it works.
So just a stupid question. I mean, because of my background, we had systems that literally doing all kinds of port blocking, so only authorized devices. But I have the impression that people say you can only use this USB device on our systems is rare. Is that a correct assumption? I did say assume.
Yeah. Some companies do that. We do allow that where you can block list or allow list USBs saying only these specific USBs. It really, really depends on the organization, and it doesn't have to be organization wide. It could be, hey, nobody's allowed to use USBs except for the marketing department. So, it's like, do your developers really need to use USBs that often? Probably not. Does your front desk need USBs? Probably not. But marketing, maybe they need access to PowerPoint, but they can also only access 5 PowerPoint files on a USB per hour. And if it goes over that, you send an alert with that EDR and then be like, hey, this is suspicious. They're transferring like many files over the USB. So there's definitely ways to do that. And you could say, hey, this one USB is allowed throughout the company. And if it's not that, only these specific people can use other ones.
That's awesome. Kieran, sorry, we're running short on time, but I did have 5 questions. You ready to play 5 questions with Security Weekly? These are just 5 random questions. There's no right or wrong answer. 3 words to describe yourself.
Fun, smart cybersecurity.
If you were a serial killer, what would be your weapon of choice?
I hope I wouldn't be, but a laptop.
If you were to write a book about yourself, what would the title be?
Not sure the exact title, but something about being global. I've lived around the world, so something about experiencing the world.
What is your favorite hacker movie?
Oh, not a movie, but NCIS. If I ever think of hacking in a TV genre type of thing, the scene where it is, I forget their names by now.
Wait.
It's been years, but they use the same keyboard to hack.
Yes, where they're hacking on the same keyboard.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's
So
a great
it's
scene.
not a movie, but that one is. They knew
classic.
what they were doing with that.
Yeah, it's classic. Choose 2 celebrities to be your parents.
Alive, dead, fictional, or otherwise.
Well, probably Bill Gates one, so that I have a bit of money, and then Dolly Parton. I think she's known as a pretty nice lady, so I'll take her as the mom.
Awesome, Kieran. Thank you so much for appearing on Paul Security Weekly.
Thank you for having me.
Coming to you from the Hacker Syndicate Studios, this is Paul Security Weekly. It's episode number 895, being recorded on Wednesday, October 8th, 2025. I'm Paul Sidorian, joined here in studio by the one, the only Larry Pesci. Larry, welcome.
You did a good job on that because last week Burgundy read, so it's on the teleprompter.
And you read the wrong thing.
And I had to go back and correct myself. And, Yep. And it was funny.
I gotta polish my teleprompter script and stuff. There's some Jinja code that I gotta futz with.
You got to be a ginger ninja.
A ninja, ginger ninja. Or ninja ginger.
Yeah. And it's funny, all the things about the stories that, in this week's episode all sounded like they could be topics for Jeopardy.
Yes. Yes. Breaking out of the shell for 200, please.
Bring back 2G for 400. ESPs in your router for 900, Alex.
Oh, I love it. We should do the whole show like Jeopardy. Mr. Josh Mappet is here with us. Josh, welcome.
Why, thank you. In full playground and a transparent shirt because I'm screwed up and put on a green shirt day.
Okay. You're all good. Mr. Lee Neely is here with us.
Hello, it's good to be here. It's going to be a great evening here. Boy, we got a lot to cover.
We sure do. Make sure you join us live on Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. The live stream link is in the Discord server. If you're not on our Discord server, you can go to securityweekly.com/Discord, get the invite, tune in, and watch live. Also, don't miss InfoSec World 2025. That will happen October 27th to the 29th at Disney's Coronado Springs Resort. Cybersecurity professionals, workshops before and after, and endless networking. Save 25% with the code ISW25-SW at securityweekly.com/ISW 2025. Let's say we dive right into it. And I mean, we're surrounded by TVs. Why not start with hacking into TVs? Except the TVs we have are not LG. They're actually Samsung TVs here in the studio. There's lots of them too. And I've done some experiments with them, I should say. But the LG WebOS is interesting. It's not the first piece of research that is evaluating the security of the WebOS on LG, which I want to say, I don't know if it's Android or more Linux based. I get my TV operating systems confused sometime in their lineage, but basically the exploit that was written up came from SSD Disclosure. If you insert a USB storage device into the TV, it starts a service and starts listening on port 18,888. That service, my guess is, has something to do with device and file sharing that happens, because they talk about something about in the article, they mention peer devices. I'm assuming they're talking about like the TV file, like those discovery protocols. So when this service starts up, there's an exploit for it. So there's like a path traversal that leads to command execution and authorization bypass, I guess they call it. It's a neat trick. It's a great exploit. The exploit's in the actual blog post.
Yep.
And I mean, it's not as practical as one might think, because either you need physical access to put a USB storage device in the TV, or someone has to have already done that in order for this service to pop up, which is then, the exploit code is there, so you can learn all about how that works. It's kind of neat to go through.
So Did it say which version of? Oh, only one version of LG WebOS that they had that they could actually test. Apparently,
Yeah, and that's the hard thing.
Yeah.
We run into that as security researchers, right? So you bought a device.
Yep.
That device comes with some type of firmware on it.
Yep.
I think a lot of times with TVs, and other such devices, it's like an auto updating firmware. So like you don't go to a website to go download the firmware,
Right.
to then go and install it on the TV.
Right.
The TV kind of just does it
right
on its own.
And,
So they don't
usually,
have to,
and usually there's some input that like, oh, this thing popped up that you have no idea how to get to the actual menu while you're navigating with the thing, and try to go find it later in the menus. Ask me how I know this, because I have a LG WebOS TV.
yeah,
Like, I turn it on in the morning, it says some update apps could need an update, and I'm like,
great.
how do I select the thing with
And then the thing,
and then to try to find the place where you go in to update the apps. I've been a couple
Terrible
months,
user
and
interface.
yeah, it's horrible.
But so
That's
like
why I don't let my TVs connect to the internet.
But what you have, but what you have to do as a security researcher, you got, let's say, an LG TV.
Yep.
It's got WebOS. You can find vulnerabilities in it. Maybe you can pull the firmware off that device. Maybe you can sniff the network and catch the firmware update as it comes across the wire. Larry, you were talking about there's, I believe, an exercise in your class that students do that. That's great. But what if it doesn't go get a new firmware update? Or what if the update
Firmware
that
is
it's
up to
getting, or what if the firmware it's getting isn't the full firmware? It's just an
Yep.
update pack, and UEFI would call that a capsule update, right?
Yep.
It's just the
It's an
stuff that
update.
needs to be updated, not the full firmware.
Yeah.
So you have these issues. So you're like, well, I'll just go to the manufacturer's website. I'll download all the firmware for these model TVs.
Yep.
And then maybe I'll reverse engineer them or write a script to go look for the vulnerable condition in the firmware. The problem is the manufacturer doesn't make it available on the website. And so now as a security researcher, you just have to trust that the manufacturer is going to go back and see if this bug exists in any other products, which, I mean, you might as well just roll the dice, because that, and how exhaustive of a search are they going to do when the situation occurs? So then you just got to trust that maybe the community, maybe everyone has a different LG TV out there and can test this, but that doesn't really work out either. So it's a conundrum. Josh, you're on mute.
That's why you need S-bombs.
Yeah.
And firmware bombs and all hardware bombs, all these different things.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, if the vulnerability was tied back to a specific component and you knew the version of it, yes. Oftentimes it maybe isn't the case. This is likely, could be a commercial proprietary component that maybe is in the S-bomb, maybe isn't, right? And how do you know the other versions don't have the same vulnerability unless you test them?
Gosh.
Right.
It
I like
sounds
Josh's suggestion, like, don't connect your TVs to the internet.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have
I mean,
Apple TVs in front of my TVs, and my TVs never touch the internet.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of NVIDIA Shield, a little pricier. I tell you what, though, I bought NVIDIA Shields a long time ago, and they still work great.
Do they
Because
even
they
make those
over-engineer
anymore?
them. They over-engineered them, right?
Yeah.
They put more horsepower in the NVIDIA Shields because they also made it a gaming platform, because it links into NVIDIA's gaming ecosystem.
yeah, you bought those like 5 or 6 years ago.
Long, dude, and I still do, like, they still work just fine, and I
Yeah.
still get updates for them.
Oh
Amazingly
wow!
enough,
I didn't even think
Yeah.
they still made them. They still do, apparently. You
Oh,
can get them
yeah.
on Amazon.
they run Android. Oh, the other story along these lines I didn't add in here is that Amazon is coming out with a new Fire Stick that is going to run an operating system based on Linux called Vega OS.
Whoa.
It will by default not allow third-party app sideloading on it,
Good.
and the development kits that they are making for it are based on NPM. So it's a node development. Like, what could go wrong?
Yeah.
But it's a node development environment. So their developer portal, I visited their developer portal, and they're like, you can download development kit. You're basically coding in Node or NPM.
Yep.
You write your app. And then I'm assuming there's some kind of, I didn't read the documentation that detail, but once you build your app, it's probably similar to Apple, where you go to Amazon.
Yep.
Hey, here's my app. Can you check it out? And can you sign it? And once it's signed, then you can distribute it in their app store, and it'll be signed to run on Fire TV devices, which is the new one. I forget the model number. It's available for pre-order, that will run Vega OS. which is pretty wild. I'm sure
Crazy.
no one will figure out how to hack these.
Oh,
devices.
nobody.
I almost pre-ordered one just so I could take it apart. I think it was
So
only like $35 too. I probably should just go order one.
Yeah. So I'm
Just to
thinking,
see.
how long, generally speaking, have we been hooking up smart TVs? As in, I'm thinking, how many really old ones are out there that have vulnerabilities that are never going to be patched?
All of
A
them.
lot.
Yeah.
I mean, because I'm thinking mine is on the order of 8 years old, and I'm pretty sure it's not getting updates. I haven't checked in a while.
Yep.
I want to say these TVs don't have the smart feature in them.
Yeah.
So these came from like an industrial commercial
Mhm.
buy,
Yep.
and I want to say they're more expensive because they don't
No,
have
they're
the
not smart.
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
in
'cause
it.
there's
Because
nobody-
they monetize on the smart stuff with
Right.
advertising and
You're getting
people
subsidy.
probably pay to be in that ecosystem or whatever. There's some monetization to have that smart functionality, which is why you can get TVs so cheap today, except for the ones like we have here in the studio that aren't smart.
Yeah, except now, or what you can get for the money you can. I mean, some of them would be crazy expensive, except for the subsidies. And no, I'm just thinking, I have hooked, the ones with the built-in Roku or other streaming device is what I would put on the internet, but that's still not
Right.
very smart.
Well, Roku is probably similar to Vega OS under the cover. It's a very closed
Yeah, it is.
system. There
But-
have been some people that have looked at the security and how to jailbreak and that stuff. I don't think any of them got very far with Roku. Maybe previous models, but newer models. It really should serve as a model for how to do IoT development. Like locking down your platform is not going to attract users like us that want to tinker. But
Yep.
for the masses, having a secure device like that is pretty. Not that Roku's always had the
Well,
best security.
the-
They've had their issues, but
Before Josh says it, as I suspect he might, there's an advantage to having an external Roku that you can do a hardware replacement when it's end of life without having to replace the whole bloody TV.
yeah,
'Cause they're
I'm a
on
big
different
fan
life
of an
cycles.
add-on device.
Mm-hmm.
Right, even if it's one that just plugs directly into HDMI, like that's beautiful.
And you could substitute his Apple TV for Roku. When that Apple TV is end of life, he'll just pop in a new one.
Google
put in
had
his
one. What was
settings
the
and
Google?
wham, bam.
What was the Google one? There was a Google one you
Google
could
had,
plug in.
yeah, they had something.
Chromecast.
Right,
They had
yeah,
Chromecast, and then they
Chromecast,
had the,
yeah.
Yep.
Same thing.
yeah,
Like
I
all good
absolutely
things,
agree.
Google,
Or-
they killed it, right?
Right.
Did they
Well,
kill
No,
it?
there's a Google TV now, but it's not a Chromecast anymore.
Then,
I gotcha.
or Fire
But here's the
TV. I mean,
difference.
I've got a Fire TV stick around here somewhere.
Here's the difference. Which of them sell your viewing habits?
All of them.
Not Apple TV.
Oh, because Apple loves his privacy.
Okay,
Mm.
that's a different problem. But yeah.
Mm.
But
There's
if
a
I
reason I
load
have
my
WAV.
Direct TV app on my Apple TV, it probably is sending information back.
Unless it's a
The DirecTV
violation
app
of
is, yeah.
Apple's EULA or
Yeah.
their guidelines for apps on the device.
Ooh.
I'm not
Yep.
sure what that looks
Layers
like. I'm
within
sure there's
layers
someone
there,
at Apple
bud.
that could answer that.
So, Josh, do you do YouTube TV on your Apple TV?
No, I don't actually. I mean, we have YouTube as an app. We do
Okay,
not do
but-
YouTube TV.
Gotcha. Because I'm at a critical point that I've been. What was it? End of last month, September. I got a notice from Verizon saying that my set-top boxes were no longer supported and out of date, needed to be replaced because they've been end of life.
Mhm.
And I called up and I'm like, great, let's swap these out. And they're like, yeah, so the plan that you've been on for the last decade doesn't exist when we swap these set-top boxes out, and your stuff is going to get more expensive. And I'm like,
Mhm.
no, it's not. And she said, yeah, wait until October, because in October they're doing something different, and then it won't be more expensive. But I'm
Lee
also
checks his watch. Has noticed it's October.
Yep, because
Yeah,
I got a text today saying you need to call us because these things are going to stop working very soon.
Yeah, I cut the cord a while ago and I
Yeah,
replaced
honestly,
everything with
That's the
YouTube
question,
TV.
Larry. What do you
Yep.
actually watch on TV?
A lot of stuff,
Like what?
and honestly, I like the big ones like live TV, Today Show, Mysteries at the Museum, all the Josh Gates stuff. Honestly, it's all available on these streaming services. It's just a matter of breaking. And the biggest thing is that right now our TV is so expensive because I have business class internet because of all the pen test work that I was doing.
Oh.
And honestly, the pen test work that I'm doing has changed
Mm.
in that I don't necessarily need to be able to run my own servers at my house anymore to support any of the callbacks and that type of things that we were doing. So I should probably just go to residential service.
Go to residential service.
50
and
to
pick up-
$100 a
I
month
mean,
for 1 gig Verizon Fios.
Yeah, and then pick
And-
up Apple TVs or
Mhm.
NVIDIA Shields or whatever, Roku's,
I mean,
or whatever.
our TV's got all that stuff built in.
I mean, you
via
can use
app,
the
which
built-in
is-
stuff in the TV is wonky.
Yeah,
I mean, you
yeah,
can
it's
get
not
by.
great.
I mean, until you find the platform you like, that
Yep.
can get you by. Certainly,
Yeah.
there's a couple of TVs in my house where I do use that because I don't have an external device.
Yep.
I'd like to build my own devices to do that. The problem is a lot of those will use the Android attestation API
Yep.
and won't run. So, I mean, I think there was some hacks I was reading a while back where, like, if you wanted to run the Netflix app on a Linux device or whatever, like, there was ways to do that. I think some of it involved a web browser. Like, you put a web browser on it and you just go to Netflix in the web browser, and so you don't have to install the app. I'm like, that's kind of wonky. I like the app.
I got to teach my kids and my wife to
I'm
do
like,
that.
no way, man. Yeah. So I like the ecosystem with NVIDIA or Apple TV or one of those platforms is good. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
There was a great article on water treatment plants. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about it. I mean, we can if you want to talk about the security of our industrial control systems or critical infrastructure, certainly water being part of critical infrastructure. But the article title was Flushable Wipes in Iran. Water treatment facility adds cyber attacks to worry list. Now, when I clicked this link, I was expecting the typical fluffy kind of 1 to 2 page article that talks about, like, not only does water treatment plants have to deal with flushable wipes as a problem, but they also have to deal with cyber attacks, and they're ill-equipped to do that. The article says that, but it's very well done. Like, great photojournalism, fantastic photos that were taken for this article, fantastic story. They went to this small town in Vermont and they interviewed the one person who's responsible for not just the computer systems, but all of the systems for the water in this small town in Vermont. And then they interviewed one of us, a hacker, that is going out to these sites and helping them with their cybersecurity. The article is just very well done, very much worth a read. And I mean, coming out of that article, I'm like, I don't think it's enough. Like, I'm kind of concerned. Like, you visited one town. It even says this in the article. Like, you visited one town, and maybe if you have a couple of people who are volunteering time to help secure these, think about how many water treatment facilities are in this country with one person running all of the operations for that.
Most
There's
of them.
thousands, probably thousands, right?
Most of them.
Well,
Yes.
well, I mean, there's larger cities have larger water treatment plant. Like, ours is in Situate, Rhode Island, right? There's Kent County Water. It's got a beautiful water fountain in front of it, 116 in Situate, and there's whole staffs of people that work there, but they still have the same problems, right? Staffs of people to run it, but lacking in their cybersecurity posture for certain.
yeah, I like how he quantifies that. Part of the thing is that there have been minimal consequences and big rewards for hacking critical infrastructure. That a lot of people have missed that message. It's like, this is why one of the reasons it's on the upswing is because it pays great. So you can't ignore it.
Yeah, ransomware attack and you're stopping the city's water.
Yeah.
Not that they have money to pay the ransom, which is probably why ransomware doesn't really happen. But
you want to really gum up the works, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Well, remember the TeamViewer attack on the water with the sodium hydroxide?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, we're talking about facilities that are literally mom and pop shops in some cases.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, they're not run by the city. They're actually, can I bring this article up? So
This has got some nice photos in it, by the way. This is really cool.
I was impressed with the photos.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm starting to get a little more serious about photography, even though I really stink at it. But it was a really cool article.
Yeah, I mean, somebody put some thoughts into this.
Yeah.
This was not a go help me write this Chat GPT article.
I like
Yep.
the I liked that. I like the photo. I mean, it's cybersecurity related, but I liked like this photo. That's a great like it's an art taking a photo, and whoever did the photo did a really really nice job.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
Well, good stuff from
And there's the hacker.
good stuff from NPR, right?
If you hadn't noticed, like that's the hacker. It's kind of a quintessential hacker picture, right?
Yeah.
That's like a guitar.
Did you get
case
your
with
hair
his
dyed,
gear.
Paul?
I know, right? It's yeah. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Anyway, moving right along. I don't think you guys talked about it. So I've got a few articles on IoT devices being hacked. 2 of them are for devices that are used to monitor your pets. And those of us with pets have probably all looked at these devices.
Yep.
Right. I actually just use a regular cheap camera.
Yeah.
I have like Reolink and TP-Link.
Yep.
Not this particular TP-Link camera. He uses a different one. I use the Kazaa stuff, which I need to probably do an evaluation of that. But this one was interesting. And it stemmed from when the author set up this device initially, there was like a user experience issue. And that kind of triggered him to go look at the camera more closely and the security of it. And the high level is he figured out like, when I first set up this camera, it's able to authenticate to the cloud, and then I get a prompt from me to like get it on my account and put my credentials on it.
Yep.
And there was something with like mismatching credentials. He's like, so how's it initially authenticating via the API to the cloud? And when he looked, he's like, it's logging in with a password.
Yep.
Well, that sets off curiosity of the hacker, right? And he said, well, how does that password get generated each time? And a little more digging, figured out that basically inside the firmware, based on the MAC address and some entropy hashing algorithm, is how the initial password is constructed, and it's based on the MAC address. So the only thing different then between his camera and everyone else's cameras when they log in is the MAC address. And I guess if you could, what the OUID is, so the first 2 bytes of the MAC address are specific to the manufacturer. You could guess the other, I think it's 16 million different combinations if you were to brute force it. And since you know the rest of the password because it's just calculated based on the hash, you know what the default passwords are going to be for all of those systems. So he wrote a Python script with man-in-the-middle proxy to do some stuff to get the information from these systems. And hard-coded keys basically was the downfall on this particular device. I'm getting them confused now because I know he wrote scripts. I'm not sure if he released his scripts.
I think he did.
I think he did. Yeah.
So the answer here, there was one thing here that where did it go?
His script's not so much for hacking, but it automates the onboarding process. That's what he did.
Yes,
that's what his Tapo. So these are Tapo, TP-Link Tapo. Decrypt pretty. So he says it watches for the login handshake with the nonces. Derives the LSK and IVB session keys from it. Transparently decrypts the subsequent API calls. Pretty prints them inline and man-in-the-middle proxies UI. And then dumps them to a JSON file for later analysis.
So he says the whole thing feels like it was cobbled together by a consortium of couch cryptographers. But then again, it was the cheapest indoor camera on Amazon, so what did I expect?
Right.
And you know what? There's arguably some truth to this. And I think really the hard part here is exactly what he's got with the initial setup. In that, you have no context on this device, yet you need to log into something securely, but you can't put a private key on the device because it will be the same private key for every device, and you can't generate new ones because then it wouldn't be trusted. And if you're using the web management interface on the device, with a private key, there's like the initial setup for these devices and doing it securely without the ability to have built-in trust is incredibly difficult.
Yes. So his final shell script logs in with the default admin password, scans and selects a Wi-Fi. I'm assuming he can do that because he knows the MAC address because it's on the network, right?
Yep.
Scans and selects a Wi-Fi access point.
And these are for the access points for the default setup one,
right
when they're in setup mode.
Right. And then he turns off some on-screen logos, enables some things, changes the admin password, and then joins it to the Wi-Fi all in his script. So it was interesting. It wasn't so much security research at that point, but making setup on these cheap cameras.
Yeah, and effectively bypassing the whole setup routine so you can change the password so it doesn't have to join their cloud service.
Right.
And you don't need to use the app to interact with it. You can just use the web interface.
He basically wrote a provisioning script for it.
He did. Yep.
It's pretty cool.
Him.
Yep, agreed. Good stuff.
The other one was hacking Furbo. This is a 6-part series on hacking the Furbo pet monitoring camera solution. And it goes through everything that you would want to cover in IoT hacking, penetration testing, hardware-based devices. So everything from removing the NAND flash chip to decrypting firmware, reverse engineering the Android app that's associated with the ecosystem for this device, exploiting Bluetooth low energy. It's all in there. And it walks you through step by step. And I think whether you're new to IoT device or device hacking in this sense, or you're a seasoned veteran of these activities, you'll probably learn something. I think in the one of my goals is start creating like a library, because I cover so many of the stories like this. Like, hey, someone took a device and went through the process of evaluating all of the security. And every single one is slightly different, yet there are also a lot of similarities. So having a library of, oh, this person took apart this device and it was this chip and desoldered it and dumped it this way and decrypted the firmware this way, right? I mean, you could almost train an LLM model on all of those posts and have it help you with your next project. So this was a great article series. I liked it. I thought it was well done.
Nice.
And also another pet monitor system that has the last part talks about all of the findings, right? Another makes me not want to get a pet monitor system. All of this makes me want to just write my own code for ESP Home to do everything, because that wouldn't have any vulnerabilities.
Right? I mean, come on, you write perfect code really, really, really slowly. But
well, I write a lot faster with the help of an AI, but then it's
because vibe coding gets you the best quality code.
Yeah. It does not. I mean, it's gotten a lot better. And also it depends on a lot of different things, but you know, it's a lot of work to do all that yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it would be nice to have these devices that are more secure, but they're going to be more expensive. That's the rub right there. I think the reason why these are so affordable and cheap is because they're not spending a lot of time and money on the development practices, security, the whole thing. Which brings me to the other article, Matt Brown's article on. Just get through all the IoT hacking stuff.
Do it.
It's my story number 37: Enterprise IoT pen testing, bypassing a restricted shell on a UniView security camera. This wasn't the ESP32 one. This was a different one. However, this one was interesting. It was a SOC I had not heard of before, but there was a UART pins on the board and gave him a UART serial console. And in that serial console, he was able to halt the bootloader, get into the bootloader menu. First, he was able to boot the system and get into a restricted shell.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Then he was able to use the bootloader menu he could modify the grub configuration that loads the Linux kernel.
Yep.
And so he put that in single user mode. But he was, I think, still kind of limited in the shell.
Mm-hmm.
And so what he figured out was that in single user mode, if it were to continue booting, right, because he was in like init mode 0.
Yep.
If it would continue booting, it would execute these scripts. he was able to modify one of the scripts to just run a shell like bin.sh. So then you reboot the system, it calls that script, and it dumps you right into a root shell that's unrestricted. I was like, it's another neat trick that needs to be in my wheelhouse in case I'm ever researching a device and that kind of shit is happening, right? So that was cool. I mean, Matt Brown puts out amazing content, needless to say.
Yep.
So I rather enjoyed that one.
Yeah, they did a nice job on writing this up, man.
Yeah, Matt's a rock star, dude.
This was story number 37, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt's awesome.
It was the Bishop Fox research in how a $20 smart device gave me access to your home. My story number 28. So this one, they were able to extract the device firmware and debug logs from the UART console with a Flipper Zero, because the sock on this one was just an ESP32W Room 32. I'm like, I know that chip.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's kind of interesting. And in ESP32 world, you can create an interactive interface on the serial console. And they left that code in the system. So as a hacker, all you have to do is solder onto the points, or however PC byte, however you want to get onto the UART header.
Yep.
Now I have a serial console on the ESP32. Not only is it writing debug logs and boot up sequence to that serial console, but the application you can interact with from that serial console. And so they were able to gather a lot of information on how to hack the device from that, and including dumping the firmware over that interface as well.
Interesting.
He uses Flipper Zero. He uses Flipper Zero.
Use a Flipper Zero as the USB to serial console.
Canada was right to ban them.
Damn straight. Good thing they did that.
No.
My $12 USB to serial adapter from Amazon works just fine.
Dude, you paid $12 for one?
I know. Maybe it was easier, even cheaper.
Did you buy 10 of them for that?
I don't.
5 at least?
Some of those aren't.
But he had to subscribe, didn't he?
Yeah.
There's there's a million tools. You can turn your ESP32 LilyGo CC or LilyGo T embed with specialized firmware into something that will be a USB to serial console. There's one for M5 stack called Card Term. You can use a Bus Pirate. You can use a tie guard. You could just like a whole laundry list.
You could buy a $4 FTDI FT232, and
the Raspberry. Adafruit makes one. I think they tout as a Raspberry Pi serial USB to serial adapter.
Interesting.
It's like purple. And it's like $12, and that works great.
I have a pedestrian question.
Yes.
So I remember back in the day when I was in high school messing with serial RS-232 stuff. It was a real bugger to get the baud bits, stop bits, all handshake, all that right. How hard is that in 2025 versus 1970, whatever the hell it was?
It's not. It's going to be N81 115.2.
Yeah, pretty much standard.
That's where you start.
And if that doesn't work, then
really
you get
a
protocol. Then you just get a protocol analyzer, right?
Yeah, logic analyzer.
Logic analyzer, rather. In logic analyzer, you'd be able to reverse engineer it to figure out what it wants later.
Yeah, they're all 115.2 N81 now.
Can we talk about something for just a second here?
Sure.
We've just done 2 separate IoT hacking stories, right?
Yep.
Right.
Maybe 3.
They both started with going after the UART ports.
Yep.
Tap pins, you know what I mean? Sorry.
Yeah.
And that's cool because you've got the physical piece in hand. Physical access equals game over forever and a day. So now we've got the physically in hand. But both stories said the unauthenticated, unencrypted bootloader.
Yeah.
And,
Well, the first stage bootloader has to be unencrypted to a certain. So usually the first stage bootloader loads the second stage bootloader, and it's the second stage bootloader.
But it's the second stage in both cases that were unauthenticated.
It would implement. So so the second stage. So an ESP32 is a great example. Second stage bootloader, it can implement both secure boot and firmware encryption.
Right.
Okay.
It uses the eFuses on the ESP32 platform to store the appropriate keys to implement both. You can do both, either or both, firmware encryption or secure boot. I want to say in ESP32 there's 4 fuses, and once you use one, it's gone.
Right.
And so if you need to rotate a key, you can use another one. Except I think one is specific to secure boot and one is specific to firmware encryption. So you don't really have 4. I think you've got 4 total, but once you use the first 2, they're gone. And I think you have 2 more spares, if I remember correctly.
And then after that, you throw the device away and you buy a new one because they're $8.
After that, you take the ESP32 off of your product and you put a new one on because they're about $1.
But
right?
my point is that they are proving the point, and I'm going to quote the article we're taking a look at now. The S in IoT stands for security.
Yep.
It stands for shit, because they could also disable the UART port once it ships and enable secure boot. Yeah, and enable secure boot and enable firmware encryption. That would make our job as reverse engineers way more difficult to get at the firmware. Then you're basically dumping the NAND flash physically, so you're either clipping on or desoldering and putting it into a reader. But if the firmware is encrypted, you still have to figure out how to decrypt the firmware, which is not impossible. I mean, there's plenty of examples of people doing it, but it's usually implementation specific. So, yes, there is definitely things manufacturers can do. I called it out in my description, Josh. So you're absolutely right. Your brain was going where my brain is going. I'm like, manufacturers can put better security into these devices. The security exists. Espressif has extensive documentation on how to implement this on their platform. And not only that, it's easy. I can read it and understand it. I'm not the world's foremost, firmware developer by any stretch of the imagination.
But it takes time and adds complexity, which costs money.
It does. And there's dangers with it, as I explained, with the e-fuses, and there's steps, and there's keys you have to protect. There's keys you have to generate, and it has to be. You also have to use the Espressif IDF, which is the integrated development framework from Espressif, to get the low enough level capabilities in order to do that. In other words, you can't use Arduino. That's an abstraction layer. You have to use the Espressif IDF to do it, which is, it's kind of, I don't know the best analogy, but like when you develop for ESP32, there's a Espressif IDF, which gives you way more control over the real-time operating system. You can do parallel tasks and multi-threading in there. Once you step out of that and you go to Arduino, it's an abstraction layer, and it's much easier to write code. But you lose some of that control.
You lose all the fancies.
You lose all the lower level controls.
Yep.
The nice part about using an abstraction layer like Arduino is if you look at the code in the ESP IDF to flash an LED, it's like roughly a page long. If you want to flash an LED in Arduino, it's like 6 lines of code, right? Because it's abstract. It has libraries that are doing all that work for you in the background. So
when you say real-time OS, do you mean the same thing I do when I say real-time OS? Oh, that's awesome.
On these chips, Lee, it is free RTOS is the underlying real-time OS for all ESP32s, as far as I know. I don't know if they've made ones that don't use that, but all of the ones that I'm familiar with and the popular ones all use free RTOS as the underlying real-time operating system.
That I stinking love computers, damn it.
Right. And it's amazing. So we're seeing, this is yet another case. We've talked about other cases too, where yes, ESP32 is a great hobby platform. Arduino is a great ecosystem, now owned by Qualcomm.
Yeah.
But it's great tinker hobbyist ecosystem. We're using it in cybersecurity to build devices like this that run attack firmware like Bruce. This is a LilyGo T-Embed CC1101 Plus, which also has an NRF 2401. 2401L, is that the part number? I think it's a 2401L, which is raw 2.4 gigahertz communications. Looking at Larry, if I say something that's out of turn, he's going to correct me. And so we use it for these purposes as well, but we also use it in commercial things. So it's wonderful to learn this platform.
Yep.
Because now when you see a router or reading about it, you understand what's happening. I will say, though, now that I hold this device up, I found this feature when I was experimenting with, and I won't run it during the show, thou shalt not test RF or any kind of hacking stuff while the show is live. because-
Again.
because bad things will
Again.
happen. But there is an NRF menu in here, NRF 24 menu in here. And
NRF 24LO1 plus or
Yep.
24LO1.
And when you go into that, you get like a Spectrum thing, information. You get NRF jammer. You get an NRF channel jammer. And so the other day I was curious. I'm like, does that really work? So I got it on my brand new device that showed up this week, and I had my phone paired to my Wi-Fi, I believe on 2.4 gigahertz, because I think the access point I keep in my workshop where I work is an older 2.4 gigahertz only access point. It's just so I can use test devices and get on Wi-Fi because I have Ethernet. But I have my phone connected, and I ran the channel hopper jammer, and it totally worked. Like I ran a speed test, and I had virtually no throughput whatsoever.
Excuse me.
Bless you. While the jammer was running, and then I stopped the jammer, and I had more bandwidth. And so I was like, wow, that I didn't do a packet capture, but I'm like, that worked. I'm like, that's pretty sick. And that is not, to my knowledge, that is not in the Bruce documentation, by the way,
No, yeah.
on their website, but it is in the firmware, and I think that might be on purpose, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And so don't do that not in a controlled environment. Are you well? If it's 2.4, you're not violating FCC, but you're not allowed to jam. You're not allowed to jam.
RF jamming is illegal,
regardless of the spectrum, right?
regardless of the spectrum.
Right. Even though 2.4 gigahertz is an unlicensed spectrum, it is still an FCC violation to jam.
Yep.
In that frequency
Yes,
range, unless you're in a controlled environment.
Negative. It is RF jamming is illegal. Period.
Oh.
There is only one.
I meant to say it was my friend Bob that did those.
There is only one group that is permitted to do RF jamming, and
is that like a 3-letter government?
They are
agency?
typically 3-letter government agencies, and they only do it on limited cases.
They get to have all the fun.
And besides,
then I think
the problem is with RF jamming, the beat's awful. You can't dance to it, so why bother?
I know, right? Right.
Lee, you need another drink or you need less drinks. I can't tell which.
I haven't
it's
had
more
any,
drinks.
so okay.
More
Some
drinks.
more. So, Paul, how about another IoT? At least 2 IoT hacking stories. The one that I wanted to cover. Oh crap! It was one. No, it was no, it was not that one.
Okay, let's not do that.
It was
Was it Pirate RF? You were hot to trot on that.
no, Yeehaw.
It was the
Yeehaw.
it's the big
38?
one. This is
Big one. 38.
just buckle up right now, audience. This is the big one right here.
This is, So it is a 7-part series on hacking a Yi IoT camera. It is a super inexpensive, as he put, 15-pound PTZ
Wow, that's cheap for a PT.
1080p camera. Yeah, so it's about $20 US PTZ.
That's pretty
I mean,
nice.
1080p is a little old, but $20 for a
but it's
PTZ
fine,
that does 1080p is not bad. What's the zoom on it?
No idea. But so, Josh, it's
They
less.
don't make them
It's
anymore?
less about the zoom. So I did I dove into this story and I did some research. Yi apparently does not sell these cameras anymore. They don't even list them on their website. Even if I even dispute the fact that they are Yi. Because the series of articles said that it was purchased off of like Alibaba or AliExpress.
Okay.
I could not find them on Amazon. I ended up having to go to eBay.
Were they on AliExpress or no?
I didn't look on AliExpress just because
You never know what you're going to get.
Tariffs
You
right
could-
about now.
Well, you could search for Yi and you could get something completely different too.
And also like tariffs right about now. So I went to eBay and compared images of the camera from the article to the one. Yeah. So first one, the teardown is awesome because I think the first step that I thought was absolutely freaking hilarious was, hey,
See? Oh, okay. Yep. I see it.
tear down an access point bugs. The first part that I thought was
Luke's blog. I don't have the full name, but
Yeah,
Luke,
Luke
you're
M.
awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, thank you.
the
For
first part
doing
that I
this.
thought was hilarious was, scroll down a little bit, keep going.
Oh, so let me show. So this is the cam. Oh, so okay, that's what the camera looks like.
Yep.
It's nice. I like it.
Yeah, keep going.
Yep.
Keep going. Keep going. Yeah, it's easy to open, but you see those nice little antennas that stick out the side there?
Yeah.
Well, they come out of those holes in the bottom, and they've got 2 wires that come out. Scroll down a little bit further. And the wires aren't connected to anything.
So the antennas are just there for decoration?
They're fake. Yeah.
Oh, that's evil.
Oh,
good.
Terrible.
Wait,
I can
wait,
already
isn't
see that.
that
I
like-
can already see the UART
But the
port
fact
right
that they
there.
even put wire in them and didn't connect it to anything is just because the wire costs
why
money.
why put the
I don't get it. I don't get it.
It's a future enhancement, right?
Right. Yeah, you need to do it
that's
yourself.
it.
You got to connect it yourself.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
So yeah,
there's
there's UART
board.
on the board. There's a microphone.
on the other side? Where's the here's the other side.
Yep, he's already got connected UART on that one.
Oh, he already soldered on
Yep.
directly on. Nicely done. Nice solder job. I like it.
Yep.
Well-
And then ended up putting some hot glue on the other side and all
Sure,
that
Hey,
sure.
stuff.
Larry,
Yeah.
I just stuck a link in Slack for a 4-pack of the cameras on Amazon.
Oh,
They're
really?
not the PTZ version.
Oh well. Okay.
Not quite the.
You can get the PTZ version, these exact versions, off of eBay for $20.
Oh, is this like the
That's
lights
the
for the
the LEDs.
Yep.
Yep. LEDs.
Oh, I
Um,
see. There's a header to
Yep.
yep.
So it's the
control the
ring light.
lights. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
SD card, Ankia.
Oh yeah, he's got a little hot glue on the
Yep,
other side. I
Yep.
like it. Nicely
Ankia
done.
processor, which is good for these cameras because it has a little
Yep.
bit of our intelligence as well.
I wonder if that was the same one that Matt Brown found in his.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
it was
yeah.
the same brand. I don't know if
Yep,
it was the
okay.
exact same processor. The memory he couldn't find any spec sheets for,
Mhm.
but it's a 25Q. Like it's going to be fairly generic, just made by some super cheap company. Yeah. The best part is you connect to UART and you fire up your serial port thing, and well, guess what?
Bob's your uncle.
Logs you in as a root session with no password.
I like that. I like it.
Yeah,
when that
root
happens.
command shell, no deal. All right, so we dove really deep into the hardware part. Serial port does some port enumeration, finds that there's a ton of services listening on these things, and he goes and digs into all of these various services, the data that is coming to and from these devices while they're in setup mode to and from the app. So basically, it's stood up as an access point. You connect to it with the app, and then you can join it to the cloud service. And he's got Stack Overflows, command injection. This is on the hardware teardown.
This is just part one.
This is part one. Yep. So
Wait.
part zero. Part one, he gets a bunch of shells. Part two, he reverse engineers the hotspot protocol. This is the one for the initial setup. Part 4, he goes and exploits bugs in that protocol. And then 4 was the one that you keyed on, Paul, hacking with sound.
Oh my god, this is
Yeah.
so awesome.
So you can pair these cameras to your home network with a QR code, and another one with send via hotspot, which is a weird one, and the other one is via sonic pairing. Meaning,
I want to say you and I have talked about it, or
We
I heard you
have.
mention sonic pairing,
we have
where basically you can play a sound,
Yep.
and through the microphone on the IoT device, it will
Yep.
listen to that sound,
Yep.
transcode it into commands
Mhm.
configuration,
Yep.
on the device, right?
Yep.
Which
So
is awesome.
Oh,
So yeah, sonic pairing. Basically, your phone is playing something into the air that the camera hears, and then it takes that data, decodes it, and turns it into a configuration file for a username and for password and such for your Wi-Fi network.
The problem?
The problem? String copy.
The code that processes the audio has memory corruption vulnerabilities in it,
Yep.
which means you can create a WAV file that performs remote command execution. It's just
Wait, you can play a WAV file and do
No, hold
remote
on.
command execution?
I got it right here.
Wait, what?
Hold on. It might be really loud. Oh, okay.
that was underwhelming.
Yeah.
So that is actually an exploit. It's being played
Yep.
right now.
If you have one of those D cameras and it's listening, you now have a root shell running.
That's right.
Root shell via telnet running.
We could potentially have pwned someone just by listening to the podcast, which I think is friggin' amazing.
Yep.
Alexa, buy me a dollhouse.
I'm so excited right now. I'm just so. I forget what that payload does though.
It was, if I remember
It's
correctly,
GitHub.
it was, where was it?
It's in the free to hooks directory, and it's bug 1. And bug 1, if you go down to the other part, he has so many exploits, which is just so amazing. This is really Sonic bug 1. Oh, so that exploit would turn on the camera's LED lights. That's all.
Okay.
So it's very innocuous. That's why I played it on the
Very
show.
innocuous.
So like, by chance, if someone did have one of these devices in setup mode and it was in in audible range when you're listening to the podcast, you'll
bug
see
2.
the LEDs.
Yeah. Bug 2
is what does bug 2 do?
generates a sound exploits global overflow in the parsing of sound, which to turn on telnet.
Yeah, so that would enable telnet. So there's another wave file that you play. Once the IoT camera hears that, it will execute commands to run to listen on the telnet service.
Yep. And
freaking love it.
telnet with root and no password, if I remember correctly.
I can't. It's just so cool.
Yeah, but also,
but wait, there's more.
There's more.
Yeah, I feel like it's in living color. Yo, show them what else you got.
Yeah, we are only on step 5 of this 8-part series, not 7-part.
Oh my God.
He also does some messing around with the SD card, so that if you plug an SD card in it, it will do remote code execution and code execution and so forth.
Amazing.
There's also the video stream protocol and some issues with the video stream protocol. And at this point, in one of these articles, he's like, oh yeah, there's this other thing that's wrong, but I'm going to leave this as an exercise to the reader because I've already written so many exploits for this device.
I wrote so many exploits. I got tired of writing exploits for this device.
He's literally like,
I freaking love it.
Like going through that list, Paul, for Yeehaw, when you're scrolling down, when you get the bug and the bug 2, there's probably 15 exploits for this device. The one that I think is the absolute best is his part
Hackerman.
His part 7, labeled number 6, is reversing and messing with the video stream protocol. Because now he's got code execution, he controls the stack, he can intercept the libraries for doing the video streaming, and he can stream his own content and not the camera stuff. So like
not what's coming off the lens. He can hijack the process and stream
he can process the encoding process and play whatever, either still images or video that he wants. Which then gets even crazier because he can hook the video. He cross-compiled Doom,
of course,
and hooked the video to be the stream coming from the camera, the video output from Doom. And the first time he did it, he was getting 1 frame per second. But he's like, oh, there's a bunch of services now on here that I don't need. So he killed a bunch of services, and the video got actually playable. And if you're using the app connected to this in setup mode, he remapped the app. The commands, the commands received from the app on the device, so that you could actually control the character. So, like, if you want, I want to hire this guy. I need to work with this guy. In the app, when you do the controls for pan, tilt, zoom, it jumps, and it moves left and right, and you press one other button, and it fires your gun.
Oh, it's just so awesome.
This device is hacked so many times, and it is hacked so deeply that
this guy got to be a hoot to talk to.
Oh my word! Like that. My question really is how long did it take this guy to go to the depths that he did to reverse engineer all of these binaries and these protocols for this $20 camera? That's what I really want to know.
I found this from an e-zine that I just subscribed to. That I can't remember the name of the e-zine, but this person. I don't know his name or her name. I don't know the name of the person, but the article was in one of the new e-zines that came out, and I read it. I was like, well, that's really cool. And they had a link to the GitHub. So the article was just about hacking with sound. I'm like, well, that sounds really cool. And then when I went to his GitHub, as Larry articulated, there was all kinds of security research that was done on this device, which is just so fun.
Yeah, like this was amazing. the write-ups, the depth, talking about how he controlled the stack and what he could do with it and be able to intercept the video streaming and encoding. And
I'm sure there's been other instances of hacking with sound.
I mean, we had the
Janet Jackson, yes,
Miss Jackson, if you're nasty. One where it would corrupt hard drives. I think we've even seen some other ones. Like, it feels like this setup is not via sound is not new. Like, we talked about this,
yes,
like 15 years ago.
I have vague memories of this being a thing to set up, because the problem that we covered, I think, in multiple of the IoT stories is
initial
the
setup.
device knows nothing and needs an initial setup. How
Yep.
do you get that initial setup?
Right.
Like,
And how do you do that initial setup securely
right,
when you can't define private keys on the device
and make it easy for the user, which is where WPS went wrong,
and not make it so it pops up errors in your browser and all this type of stuff, or even heck with the app with stuff you can't trust as well. Right. It is a
all of these protocols that Wi-Fi protected setup, or WPS, is a shining example of it going. Although most of those issues have been resolved in modern implementations, or no?
Nope. WPS, the protocol itself, is fundamentally broken. Okay. And we covered a story on that last week with the WPS pixie dust attack, which was kind of
it's an older one, but
so
it's an older code, but it still works.
It checks out.
Yep. And that was the one we covered last week. Was oh crap! Why the name is
there's a utility that I run on Kali that's not unique to Kali that can do both of the WPS attacks. One is pixie dust, one is another attack.
It's probably pixie WPS. Yeah.
Something like that.
Reaver.
Thank you. Reaver is the tool. And Reaver itself is pretty old. But if your access point is pretty old and still runs those older WPS implementations.
WPS is still in modern access points. It's typically disabled. And this was the thing, the article last week, that
there's protections for WPS to thwart some of the attacks, like pixie dust, but it is a cat and mouse game.
No. There's no protections. It's a hold off timer.
It's just a hold off timer, so it just takes longer.
Yep, and the pixie dust attacks is instantaneous if you have specific chipsets, because it's a random number generation problem.
Right.
The point of the article
we
covered,
so random number generation problem.
The point of the article we covered last week is that they were saying, manufacturers are still releasing this stuff. This is a vulnerability from 2014, and their implementations are still vulnerable to pixie dust, which is the random number generator problem.
Right.
And they're still releasing it.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is maybe.
No, maybe.
And then the big one that last week was the initial article came out and it said, we're not telling you what vendors it is, because there's like a bunch of them that are vulnerable. And then they released the actual research and they singled out one vendor.
Yeah.
When there were 7 that were vulnerable.
Right. Like why?
Yep.
Well, whatever.
We know, I know exactly why.
Yeah.
But
that's really loud typing, Josh.
I'm sorry.
Stop typing so loudly.
Wine.
Type
well, I don't have a story on
Larry,
one. I do have
look
a
at a
story
mechanical
about
keyboard
beer.
for me, would you?
Oh, yeah, I've got a couple.
Couple hundred.
Lee, you said you had a story?
I said I don't have a story on wine. I do have a story about beer, but I didn't think it was very interesting.
Oh.
Japanese beer producer got hacked, ransomware. Asahi, yeah. The interesting thing is all the different, beers they produce, including Bellers in the UK.
Huh.
I'm like, dude, ransomwaring a beer producer? Really? That's pretty low.
Yeah.
Not the first
that's
time.
Seriously messing with the supply chain.
Was it Bevmo? Didn't Bevmo have a
I'm sure.
ransomware attack?
I'm
I
sure.
remember covering that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
sure.
Ransomware people are going to ransomware shit. That's what they do.
So I was looking at Larry, I noticed, I didn't read it, but I noticed you had an article about a vulnerability from 2019 and 2020. And I was keying on that because
Oh, yeah. So this one wasn't a vulnerability. This one was I don't remember hearing about this, and I thought it was. I've been doing a lot of research into vulnerabilities across a bunch of vendors and so forth, and whether they're patching them and so forth. This one was filings and judgments from the Federal Trade Commission.
Ooh.
And in 2020, mandated that D-Link complete a comprehensive software security program and keep it active for 20 years.
Really?
I see this. Years ago, we talked about FTC going after. At the time, was it Netgear?
Might have been.
It might not have been, but you could research it.
Yeah.
The FTC has gone after historically select IoT device vendors, essentially for like negligence when it comes to cybersecurity.
Yep.
And is this a recent? Or
no,
is
this was the dates on this are 2019 and 2020. So it might have been. It might not have been the Netgear. It might have been.
Yep.
Might have been D-Link. But basically they laid out a model that you need to design, implement, maintain, and document safeguards as part of a secure software development process.
Sure.
And all the details that go into it, engaging in pre-release code vulnerability testing. You need to do pen testing. You need to turn over the results of these things at least once every 12 months to specific people at the Federal Trade Commission so that they can review it. And you need to do this for a period of 20 years. And as I'm looking at some of the stuff and looking at a whole bunch of vulnerabilities in
end
D-Link,
of life. And sorry, I have a question. The end of life devices have been very popular in the D-Link brands.
Yeah.
Many researchers have discovered flaws in that are for firmware for devices that have since been end of life.
Yep, that's a huge thing. And
I'm not sure because it's a court.
Yeah,
document.
It doesn't say, and it's long and blah blah blah.
And there's
blah,
a lot of legalese in here too.
Yep, and then even at the end, they're like, "Oh yeah, hey, by the way, you should probably use IEC 62443-4-1, security for industrial automation and control systems, secure product development lifecycle requirements." Like,
did Josh write that? Did you write that? So one of us write that?
I did not write that. I don't write every standard, just lots of them.
Yeah. I thought you did.
62443, no, didn't work on that one. Consulted to a couple of people who said they worked on it, but I think they were just in the working groups.
Yep.
I mean, it is that, it kind of sucks for D-Link, but this is not a bad model for what they threw out there.
No.
When the FTC does kind of go after, if you will, but it is a. We talk about the carrot and stick, right?
Yeah,
it's very much a stick. Like, you should improve your cybersecurity hygiene, and they leverage fines. I mean, do they say what if they don't comply? What the fines are?
They didn't.
In this document. Yeah,
they didn't. Well, at least put it this way: I didn't notice that they did, but I really skimmed it kind of at a high level, and I was actually shocked that, wow, the FTC is making them do all of these things. They're giving some really good guidance, and that they need to share this, and they need to do this yearly. They need to do training.
The problem I see with this situation is, let's say that the fines that were going to be leveraged if D-Link doesn't comply is $1 million, and D-Link does the
make
study
that in 10 minutes.
Let's say D-Link does a study internally and says, well, in order for us to fix this, it's going to cost us $2 million. D-Link's going to go, oh, well, we'll just pay the fines. Yeah, fine.
And at least I think at least in one of these cases I saw that, hey, if the person there's got to be a point of contact, a person here that's required to do these types of things, and if they don't, they will be found in contempt. Like, I don't know if I'd want to be that named person at D-Link, where I'd be required to be reliant on someone else to provide me a bunch of documentation in a timely fashion to provide to the Federal Trade Commission. And if I don't provide that,
right,
I'm being found in contempt and can go to prison.
Correct. That is slightly bigger stick, I would say.
You would have to pay me a lot of money to do that. A lot of money.
More than $50?
Yes. I mean, but it is $50. It's $50.
Probably be at least 100 there, Josh.
Add some zeros, lots of them.
Yes,
Yeah,
lots of them.
Well, fortunately, zeros are small. They don't take a lot of room.
No. I mean, seven zeros. I'd consider 7 zeros.
But yeah, that's. So I wouldn't want to cross the FTC. I mean, they can really play nasty.
Yep.
And it's not just the fine; it's they can do more. And
Yeah.
but
I
but
still
you got to
kinda
have that
maintain-
conversation. By the way, are we
I
going to
don't
do
know.
this?
I kind of maintain that carrot and stick. Carrot's definitely
Oh yeah,
more
yeah.
effective. You know, because that's how this is how when I think about this problem, I solve it with a rewards and incentive based system rather than a punishment based system. I think we do need to fall back on a punishment based system. That if you are going to be grossly negligent, there are consequences. Because without that, then maybe no one would do it if there's just a reward.
Correct.
But I like a rewards based system where all parties are incentivized to do the right thing to improve cybersecurity. So the vendor is incentivized to make more secure products because the ISP is incentivized to acquire more secure products, and the consumers who use these devices to get on the internet are incentivized to put the more secure devices. Without a system of incentives and just punishment, it doesn't move the needle enough for me. This may get D-Link and others because the FTC has filed suit against several IoT device vendors. If you go back in history, the device, they're going to put it in court. It's going to be a lot of legalese. They're going to negotiate. They're going to do the bare minimum to get by, perhaps. Like I said before, maybe they just pay the fines rather than actually do the right thing. So, but it can be effective. I mean, PCI has shown us that leveraging fines and other punishments can be effective. I mean, with PCI is kind of a different animal in terms of payment cards. Like I think of like Pornhub, whatever the parent company is of Pornhub, they got all of the credit card companies not to do business with whatever the parent company is to Pornhub.
Yep.
That's certainly like a punishment enforced system that has certainly made an impact to curb things, that has to do with that whole, there's a Jordan Harbinger. Jordan Harbinger did an episode on that. It's absolutely fascinating. And that's one way where I think a punishment-based system can be effective, but also you've got to incentivize everyone to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Incentives are the way to go.
Speaking of incentivizing folks to do the right thing, there was one story here real quick. My story number 2, the Notepad++ DLL hijack flaw.
Yeah.
And I forget where I picked this up from, but I was reading through the article again real quickly here, because what I remember reading about this article was that it was particularly bogus. Because if you think about this, that Notepad, Notepad++.
This was the vulnerability that's not a vulnerability. Someone called this a CVSS score of 0.
Yes, that's what it was. Because Notepad, in this case, you can use Notepad++ to load a DLL that is not the original DLL. It doesn't check the DLL. So it's DLL hijacking. But it's a DLL hijacking on an app that doesn't run with any privileges. So what's the point? Right?
I can run code as the local user.
Right.
I can run code as a local user.
No, I can. No,
everyone can run code as a user that you're logged in as. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did. I saw this. I think it was Jonathan Bennett from Hackaday.
Yes. That's right. It was.
He included this in his weekly.
Yes.
It's an excellent. I've talked about on the show before. It's an excellent weekly newsletter. I love Jonathan's podcast. He does the Untitled Linux Show. He does Floss Weekly, and writes that column for Hackaday every Friday.
Yep.
And
that's where where it came from.
Yep.
It's been a CVS 3-1 score of 7-8 high, indicating significant security implications. That is noted in the GB Hackers article. But in that case, it's really like, you use an app to sideload to do DLL hijacking for an app that has no more. The DLL has no more privileges than the app itself, which is user like.
And if you go look it up on the NVD site, the 3.1 score is now 8.4. Something's weird here. I mean, yeah, it connects to
You're
a
on the air with
DLL.
us and you say something's weird?
Well, we're all weird, but CVSS scoring is weird. They just
Yeah, it is.
from
It's just-
experience.
but they usually don't adjust them without a reason, and this seems in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
But anyone can publish a CVSS score,
Yeah, no,
and then so it, like
I
it
say
doesn't
that
matter. Like,
Paul has a CVSS score of 8.4.
well, all the way,
wait.
not quite that way. Everyone doesn't have a CVSS score.
You do
Anyone
now.
Can resist.
You do now.
I love it, Josh. Like you're flipping the
So-
script, right? Like
and
Paul couldn't carry a CVSS score to talk about severity and impact of Paul, but also anyone on the internet can evaluate a vulnerability and attach a CVSS score to it unofficially, right? It doesn't end up in the NVD or any kind of enrichment data from CISA or whatever, but anyone can publish it. And I've covered lots of cases of this where the security researcher or research firm will say, we calculated the CVSS score, we believe it to be this. The vendor then calculates their own CVSS score, and it's usually less than what the researcher says.
No.
And then, right? Shocking.
Mm-hmm.
But then an independent body, such as CISA or MITRE themselves or NIST, can also generate a CVSS score. And those official scores can be logged in the NVD record for that CVE. And there can be multiple. Also, there can be multiple based on the CVSS version. So CVSS version 3 can carry a score, whereas CVSS version 4 can carry yet a different score because there are different algorithms with different criteria.
Yes.
So you can end up with a lot of different scores. It's one of my things I pick on with respects to how we define severity and impact for a vulnerability. There should be one definitive source, but there isn't.
Correct.
So you often sometimes see where I'll pick on Cisco for a moment. Cisco is a CNA. Cisco will say this vulnerability that affects our products carries this CVSS score, and NVD or MITRE, maybe both, can also say we believe it's this CVSS. So you'll see two CVSS scores for the same vulnerability. And I've always questioned this as to how this helps organizations evaluate, well, what is the severity and impact of this vulnerability? I don't know. Everyone's scoring it differently.
There is one interesting thing on the NVD page, which kind of indicates Larry. I did miss it the first two times. Right at the top, it says disputed with an orange background.
Yep.
So giving credence to it should be a CVSS 0 comment from earlier.
It can be
and our
disputed.
comment is
Absolutely.
that if I entice an app to execute something with the permissions I have to execute it anyway.
So is the dispute with the score or the
it doesn't
CVE
say.
record
It just
itself?
I've been going back and forth through the page. I went through the change log and stuff. I couldn't find anything to tell me, and I may have just been looking too fast.
I think you can dispute a CVE record. I feel like I should know this because I've talked to people that work at MITRE that run CVE, but
I mean, to me, it just
I think you can. I think that means you're disputing the actual record, not the score. It's an interesting question. I would want to ask someone who works at MITRE and or is on the CVE board if there is one. What is the process, and is there a process for both disputing a CVE record and disputing a score? Are they a separate process? Is it the same process? Can you dispute one or the other and or both in the same or a different process?
Yeah,
because there have been folks that we've talked about on the show that dispute whether or not this should even be like disputing the CVE record is basically saying like, is this a vulnerability or not a vulnerability?
Right.
Is the dispute. The second level of dispute in my mind is we all agree it's a vulnerability, but we're just disputing the score that it carries along with it. There should be a process for both. I'm actually I'm shocked I haven't explored this further.
But it's okay. You've got a lot of depth on CVE. This is hardly a chink in your armor.
Only because I've talked to people that do it, right?
fine.
I mean, that's how you learn. I mean, that's how we gain knowledge, right? Is talk to
But
the people that
I
are the authoritative source. But I know there is a process for disputing a CVE.
Mhm.
Whether or not that process is well implemented, defined, documented, is something we could dispute.
Mhm. Well,
Right, Larry?
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
so actually, I was, the other thing that this was making me all think of is there was an article I was looking at earlier that CISA had added 7 KVE, and they've added in the last week. They've added like 12 to their
Yeah,
to their
they've added a
CAV.
bunch.
And
Yeah,
but
they've
if you
added a
look at the
bunch.
years on them, a bunch of them most of them are from like 21 and earlier, as early as
Oh,
2010.
the one I love. Did you see the one where they added the Screen OS vulnerability that was the back door in Screen OS from 2014? I think that was a
Yeah, yeah.
2014 CVE. Do you have that up on your screen?
I actually have the list in my Article 7. I was getting ready to go back to the other site, and I got distracted. Here it is.
Well, now it's going to be like way down on the list because they just added a bunch more.
Of course they did.
Well, they got
'Cause,
Zimba. They've got the Oracle e-business
E-Business
suite.
Suite.
I had that article in there. Watchtower Labs wrote that one up.
Yeah.
They've got
Multiple
Mozilla,
Mozilla.
some Microsoft Windows, Linux kernel heap. I think I had some of those in my stories as well.
There it
Oh, here
is.
it is. CVE. Yeah, I can actually
Whoa.
make that bigger.
Why is it upside down?
CVE.
Why is it upside down?
It's upside down for us. Is it upside down for you, Lee?
No.
My screen? No. Okay.
What?
So
So one of the other
look,
stories you were showing wasn't upside down.
yeah, it was. They all were.
Really?
Yeah. When we display it on Riverside, the Riverside thing is backwards. But if you look at the screen to the right, that's
Yeah.
Oh,
what I'm sharing.
jeez, that's annoying. Yeah.
Holy cow.
CVE 2015-7755, Juniper Screen OS contains an improper authentication vulnerability that could allow unauthorized remote administrative access to the device. It's basically a backdoor. Look into that CVE. It's essentially, that was the backdoor that I think was called out by Congress. Was it Senator Warden? The one that does like cybersecurity stuff.
Yes, Warden. Yeah. Sounds
Warden,
familiar.
right? This one was called out because it was a backdoor in the popular operating system. And so, but some would observe this CVE from 2015 in Juniper Screen OS devices that have being exploited in the wild. Now,
Mhm.
does anyone know when Juniper Screen OS was deprecated, end of life, end of service,
Oh,
end of
gosh.
support, whatever you want to? Does anyone
It's
know?
been
This is a Jeopardy
forever.
question.
It's been forever.
This operating system was end of life in, well, I guess you wouldn't put it that way. Juniper Screen OS was end of life in a particular year. What year
course.
was that?
Mhm.
What is 2018, Alec?
Jeez, 7 years
Yes,
ago.
7 years ago. Juniper ended. Juniper. So this is like, it goes back into my career because when I started at Brown University in 2001, I was a NetScreen firewall administrator. Was on
You poor bastard.
on my list. That was one of my responsibilities. I walked into a place. I think we had like just bought one of the first firewalls, like NetScreen firewalls. NetScreen, there was a company. NetScreen used Screen OS, and then at some point, you can look it up. It was bought by Juniper.
Yep.
Wait.
Juniper.
Was this so long ago that you didn't even know Larry?
No. I knew Larry at that
No,
point.
we.
Just
I didn't.
probably just maybe just met in 2001. We might have just met.
Yeah, because we didn't. I didn't. No, you didn't. You were at Brown before I knew you, and you'd been there a little bit before I knew you. Because if you think about it, we podcast. I'd probably only known you
Podcast was
maybe
2005. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe knew you a year to 2 years at that point. So it was a good couple
Maybe,
years before
yeah.
you knew me. Yep.
Yeah.
So then Juniper buys NetScreen. Juniper still up until 2018 develops and supports Screen OS. And then in 2018 is when they sunsetted that product in favor of JunoOS. So now all Juniper products,
Use JunoOS.
from what I understand, use JunoOS.
Now, then they sunsetted it. Did they have ongoing support after 2018?
No, 2018 was like the cutoff. I actually researched this.
Okay.
Because looking at it from my day job perspective, I'm like, couple things, right? And not even specific to my day job or the product, but I'm like, just a couple things. Let me put I'm a defender hat on. I work for an organization. I'm trying to protect this organization. I want to know if I have ScreenOS in my environment.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that is a finding because it was end of life, or however you want to put it. They, vendors put all these end of life, end of support, end of development.
As of 7 years ago, this should not be in my environment.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if it's in my environment now, it's at least a finding because I'm running a piece of software that is no longer maintained.
Mm-hmm. And I would argue,
now, I'm not saying it's vulnerable or not vulnerable, but
arguably, given the nature of the ScreenOS, it is probably on a device that is critical to the operation and the security of your specific segments of your environment.
But so I want to know about that. Secondly, I do still, and this is where Jeff and I have had conversations, right? It's one thing to go, I've got a legacy piece of software in my environment. And then another thing to go, that legacy piece of software has known vulnerabilities. I mean, it could be the case where I'm running the latest version of that legacy OS where maybe it doesn't have vulnerabilities, but I'm still running a legacy OS is one situation. But I could be running a ScreenOS that's vulnerable to 2015 7755. That's even worse. Then I need to really know about it because I'm running something that could it be patched? Yes, they did release a patch for this. I'm assuming they released a patch for this because if they end of life it in 2018, this vulnerability came out in 2015, I would assume they update it. Maybe not for all hardware. Who knows, right? Because that's the whole thing. I've got this piece of hardware. It runs this operating system. So now I got to know when my hardware is unsupported and what the latest software that it will run to know what is supported and what isn't, right? Because it's a really, knowing the end of life status of things is super complicated. Like, because I could have a piece of hardware and the last piece of software that was supported on that hardware has been end of life, in which case I need to get rid of the hardware altogether. I need to buy new hardware. But I could have hardware that maybe that hardware isn't quite supported, but for the next year, I'm going to be able to go to the latest release of that. But after that year, then I got to replace that hardware. So it's knowing what hardware you have to know what version of software can be put on that hardware, and then when that software is end of life. It's a hard calculation.
The other one that I think is absolutely terrifying about this, Paul, is that they just added CVE 2015 3 years before Juniper ScreenOS was supposed to be gone to the Kev because it has been observed being actively exploited, meaning somebody out there is running ScreenOS in 2025 connected to the internet.
Yeah, there's about, I don't know, roughly I looked at Shodan. I'm trying to remember the exact numbers. There's a few thousand, maybe a couple thousand ScreenOS, depending on how you slice and dice Shodan, right?
Yep.
But there are devices connected to the internet that are running ScreenOS. Everyone can go to Shodan and you can do your queries. I don't have them off the top of my head because you can find some that are listening on SSH. You can find some that are listening on 80 and or 443. But there are active devices on, not a lot in comparison of the Shodan queries I've run. Not as many as like Cisco ASA, not as many as Palo Alto devices, but there are people still running ScreenOS. Now, some of those are honeypots, okay, but there's still quite a few.
So I will ask you tomorrow what you used for doing some Shodan queries to discover those.
Yeah, it's an art and a science.
Yeah, I want to follow up with you tomorrow on that because I've got questions.
So you started hitting on one of the points I wanted to make on this article is we got these ancient CVEs that are these things are still out there and being exploited. And some of them are like Mozilla Flaw from 2010, which is also in SeaMonkey and Thunderbird. I'm like, we're surfing the web like it's 2010. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Larry,
man. Like,
wait. Larry, what is the greatest danger to the power system of the United States after squirrels?
backhoes.
Yes.
Okay, after squirrels and backhoes, what is the greatest digital danger
Oh,
to the U.S. power grid?
User error.
no.
God damn it! Stop that.
No one expects to spend its Inquisition. Our three main weapons are fear and surprise. Our two main weapons.
Configure or slammer? I mean, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, so
Configure or slammer. Right.
I mean,
and yeah.
this is standard. We're dealing with 20-year-old crap here.
Mhm.
That is just why the fuck every EDR has it. Every antivirus has that crap.
And I was going to say, what was the two that you said, Josh? Weren't those both issues because of default passwords, or was that an actual exploit?
No,
Slammer was an exploit.
Slammer was an exploit. Slammer
Yes.
was an exploit.
Okay, yeah.
Configure, I don't remember.
Neither do I. It's so freaking ancient. But like, it's that bad.
That's crazy.
Look, in major industrial sectors in this country, we are 20 years behind.
Well, I mean Josh, that was by design. That when 20 years ago, when folks were deploying these devices, they were intended to have a 20 to 30 year lifespan.
Absolutely.
You go look at the power meter on the side of your house, and that device is installed on the side of your house, and it is intended to be there and has an ROI of 30 years.
Mhm.
Jesus.
So that means if you have a smart meter on the side of your house, that Zigbee-enabled smart meter is going to be on your house for maybe another 20 years.
Mhm.
And they're so vulnerable, it's terrifying.
But that's a long time to be exposed to physical attacks. We covered a lot of stories on IoT devices where researchers spent X amount of time with physical access and was able to discover vulnerabilities.
That said, these devices are a little bit more esoteric when you try to find them to do physical attacks on. Like, someone's going to know if you go rip the power meter off the side of their house and start hacking it. Well,
Sure.
they're not going to know about hacking it, but someone's going to find that you stole their power meter. But these things show up on eBay all the time.
Right. And I would counter that, yes, these are long-lived devices, but there's also some known ways to protect them and isolate them. And I'm actually wondering if during the pandemic lockdown, a lot of this shit got exposed to the internet because people couldn't go to them. And I don't know, that seems kind of thin, but it just seems odd that there are that many.
I did want to talk about,
Go ahead.
speaking of esoteric stuff,
Yeah.
my story number 30,
Mikey Mouse.
Mikey Mouse.
Yep.
All righty, let's do it.
So I want to read the abstract from the paper.
Yep.
The paper does get into a lot of math around this.
DSP type
Yeah,
math.
essentially inside of your mouse, because there are so many. The sensors, like we used to have the trackballs.
Yep,
we used to take out and clean.
the optical sensor, the little LED the little light that's on the bottom of your mouse.
It can be used for eavesdropping. So the abstract says high-performance optical sensors in mice expose a critical vulnerability, one where confidential user speech can be leaked. Attackers can exploit these sensors' ever-increasing polling rate and sensitivity to emulate a makeshift microphone and covertly eavesdrop on unsuspecting users. Now, the abstract in the paper goes on to talk about the signal loss that occurs using machine learning methods to overcome much of that signal loss. I believe one of the stats I read is that you get about a 61% accuracy after cleaning it all up using machine learning to be able to interpret speech from the optical sensor that are in modern mice today that use the little like laser thing to do the optical sensor, right, to operate the mouse.
The part that I thought was pretty crazy in this particular article is that they compared a couple of different mice, and the more expensive the mouse got,
the better the signal quality.
Least.
So really interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I thought it would be the other way around.
That's what I thought it too. Because if you're buying the more expensive mouse, it's probably more for gaming, and you want it to be more high resolution, more sensitive, and from what I remember seeing, that it was the complete opposite. Yes, the very first thing on the in the article: vulnerable mouse sensitivity over time. Vulnerable. The $35 and the $40 mouse were vulnerable. Yet the 60, 80, and 85, 60, 80, $85 mouse
What's the
were
IntelliMouse?
not.
Is that is Logitech the IntelliMouse?
Yep, and the irony is that they're the IntelliMouse at $85. It was $85 somewhere around 2003.
Is that this one? Is that an IntelliMouse?
But yeah, I don't know. But
This is I like
the
this,
the ones
whatever
that,
this one is. This is the one I use on all my systems.
the ones that they were
I don't know what
talking
it's
here
called.
is a 2003 variety, but in near 2025, the mouse is $35 and has much more response rate. So yeah, it got cheaper, it has better response rate, and it has become more
One
vulnerable.
article that
so
I
maybe
read,
I was wrong.
One article that I read in the story though was talking about recommendations, and one of the recommendations it said was you should update firmware on your peripheral devices in case the manufacturer has chosen to address these vulnerabilities in a firmware update. And I'm like, the likelihood that you will be exploited by this vulnerability is probably greater than the likelihood of a manufacturer releasing a firmware update to address these
I think the way you
issues.
wrote it was the chances of seeing this in the wild are pretty low. Some suggested you upgrade your mice firmware as vendors may release patches. This is even less likely.
So
Deadpan.
Cheers to that.
Yeah.
cheers to
Deadpan.
that. So I mean, my thought is, this seems like an awfully hard way. When how many mics has the average person got on their computer? It's in their webcam, it's in the keyboard,
Yep.
it's in. I mean, there's all these microphones on the system that you could exploit, and you're going to go after the optical sensor. I mean, it's really cool they figured this out, but
you know what's interesting is my coworkers came up with the bad cam attack where they turned a webcam into a bad USB device.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first things I asked them, I'm like, wait, so if you're running arbitrary code on these cameras, can't we turn this into basically a covert listening device to be able to collect data from the microphone, data from the camera? If the camera has Wi-Fi enabled on it, like maybe it's a USB device and it has Wi-Fi on the camera, because cameras have that. The cameras we have in the studio have that.
Yeah.
Couldn't
why
you
not?
do Wi-Fi and Bluetooth? A lot of these cameras have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. If I'm root, they're basically making Jesse got root on these cameras. If you're root on the camera, you can use Wi-Fi. You can use Bluetooth.
back to
you
our
can use the
UCam.
microphone. You can use the camera.
Like back to our U camera. If you can intercept the encoder for both audio and video, why can't you steal this data?
Right.
So I know
way easier to do on a Linux-based webcam than to get the 61% accuracy on an optical mouse.
So I know we're at time, but to bring us out on a little bit of a humorous note, looking at the metrics when they do the quantization and all this type of stuff, they go from in that article they go from victim speech to the waveform from the mouse sensor, which is unintelligible, and then they do some filtering, and then they do some neural filtering, which gets you the 61%. Do you know what the first stage filtering that they did was called?
No.
Wiener filtering.
Oh.
What?
Yes.
Yep. Wiener filtering.
Right
You gotta
there in the
filter out all
metrics
the. I mean,
graphic.
you got to filter out all the wieners to be.
That could be a tough task.
It depends. I mean, for me, it's pretty easy. Small filter,
Yeah.
We're not going to touch that one.
Yeah, well, when you get married, that happens. So we got more stories to talk about, but we're short on time, and we'll just maybe move them to next week or something. I have other ideas on that, but anyway, that was fun. We hate to end. We hate to end.
No,
but we have
do.
to end. We had an hour and a half to cover news. I took 2 weeks off, so I had way more stories and crap that I found. But I think we talked about the most interesting things. And we will continue next week. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching this edition of Pulse Security Weekly. Larry, take us out.
Over and wiener filtering.
Boom.
Booyah.
ya.
Da-da boom. Well done,
played, sir.
Well done.